So thank you for attending the information session on ESL Language Use. Again, if you are here, I can presume that English is not your first language or you have taken less than 6 years of school in the United States. We talked about what the reading, speech assistance area can do for you. Let's talk about the purpose of the language use test. Its purpose is to measure the skill in using correct grammar. So this is all about the grammar. So who feels like they need this one the most? Anybody? Okay. How about you, Don? Is grammar something that you struggle with, or are you pretty good with it?
Grammar?
Yeah.
No, I'm not good.
Okay, so that's good to know. So I'll do my best to share what I know about the test when it relates, as it relates to grammar. Again, it'll determine your appropriate course placement as well. We will do the same things that we did in the other sessions. We'll do some facts about the test. We'll go over some types of questions. I'll provide some hints. We'll practice. We'll look at the resources, etc. So facts about the test, as you recall, this as well is web-based, untimed, so take your time, computer adaptive, 20-question multiple choice where you can get immediate score results. Okay. Again, before you take the test, consider taking them on different days, and bring your photo ID, allow for time, and again, ask for scratch paper. A lot of people who don't come to these information sessions don't think to do that, but they can be very, very helpful, okay? So, guess what? There's 2 types of questions on the language use test, okay? First one is fill in the blank, just like the sentence meaning, and this, it looks like this. My professor blanked my paper. The second one is not a closed one like you were expecting. It is choose a sentence that best combines the 2 sentences. So you'll be given 2 sentences. They'll want you to combine them into one and to choose the best one. Of course, there's going to be grammar mistakes in a lot of them. So that's where the tricky part comes in. So you can expect these 2 type of question formats on the language use test. I lived in Illinois. I was born in Michigan. Choose a sentence that best combines these 2. That's what they will be looking for. So, recommended test-taking strategies are this. First of all, we suggest that you read the statement or sentences first. Okay? Read the statement or statements first. Then think of the correct answer before even looking at your answer choices. You might even want to write them down on your scratch paper. Don't go to the answer choices right away. Try and see if you can come with it and then write it down on your scratch paper. Then choose the answer that best matches what you wrote down on your paper. You guys have been very good at eliminating the wrong answers. So you want to do that as well, one by one. Look carefully at the punctuation, look carefully at the spelling to eliminate any of those wrong answers. Okay? Again, I'm moving down the handout here, and you can see that there were 4 content areas in the sentence meaning. Well, in this test, there are 5. The first one is called the subject-verb agreement content area. Okay? The second one is coordination, subordination, nouns and pronouns, verbs, and then descriptive words or comparatives. So, we'll begin with the first content area, which is the subject-verb agreement. If the subject of the sentence is singular, then the verb must be singular. So in the example, my dog runs fast, you see that dog is singular. So the verb needs to be singular. Okay? Jill is happy. Jill is one person, is one person. It's singular, singular. Okay? If the subject is singular, the verb has to be singular. That's what they are looking for. Let's look at another example. Some subjects seem to be plural, but they really are singular, okay? So, oh wait, I jumped a little bit. If the subject of the sentence is plural, then the verb must be plural. My dogs run fast. See that? Usually, have you guys picked up on this trick? If the subject has an S on it, usually the verb doesn't. So, if you look at your, let's go back to this example up here. If the subject doesn't have an S, the verb does, oftentimes. See that? So you would never have my dogs runs. So this means one dog and it runs. No S, S. But if I go to the next example, dogs has an S on it, which means more than one, and this doesn't have an S. A lot of times that's a good trick to look at when you're trying to do subject-verb agreement. Jill and Mary, plural subject, are happy, as opposed to just Jill is happy. Does that make sense to everybody in terms of making sure that they agree? There will be test questions like that. Show me that you are able to make the subject match the verb. Make them agree. This is where I jumped a little bit. Some subjects seem to be plural, but really they're singular. So team feels like a plural subject, but it's really just one team. So it goes with a singular verb. Team is. And on your handout, I gave you a list of, I think I did, some of those tricky words. Let me look on the back. I thought I had some. I thought I did. Let me get it. At one point they were going to be there, but I don't think they are. Let me give you some other examples on here. Maybe that's what I was talking about. Army, faculty, audience, class, jury, band, choir, pack, bouquet, pair, and fleet. So oftentimes you think because more than one person makes up this group that it's plural, but it's one group, right? So you want to be really careful about this. They may ask you a question like this, and know that these really are singular subjects that get singular verbs. Make sense? You would never say, the band are late for the competition. The band is late. The faculty are wonderful people. No, the faculty is wonderful people. One group. Make sense, guys?
Yeah.
All right. So that's a kind of a tricky thing with subject-verb agreement. All right, I see first just writing a couple of these words down. The other thing is you could just Google irregular subjects, or and they'll give you a whole list. I think that's where I got these from. So let's look. My parents blank my taste in music. Okay, so if we look at that one, my parents, it's a plural subject, right? More than one parent. So it has to have a plural verb. So that there's an S on it, so we might want to look and see if there's a verb without an S and see if it makes sense. Do they shares it? My parents will shares it. My parents has shared it. My parents share. Okay, good. Good. Okay. My family blank my taste in music. Singular subject or plural? Do you have more than one family?
No,
It's singular. That's one of those tricky ones, right? It's a unit, right? Even though many people make it up, right? So we want a singular verb. Shares, it might be because, remember the singular verbs can end in an S, right? Will share, have shared, share. Shared. Okay? So that's subject-verb agreement. Let's move on to the second content area, which is coordination and subordination. Okay, this is a little bit of review of some of the things we talked about in the sentence meaning, except we're looking at grammar now, right? So, there are 3 ways to join complete sentences. A semicolon, this is on your handout as well. Jim dislikes watching movies. He enjoys music. So, first up, if I cover the semicolon, does this first part of the sentence make a complete thought?
Yes.
Does this second part?
Yes.
So we do have 2 complete sentences. You can use a semicolon when they are very, very related sentences. When they are connected in a way that they make sense together as partners, okay? And oftentimes a semicolon is used with 2 small sentences, all right? So that's one way to join a complete sentence. Another way is the comma plus the fanboy, which we talked about in the sentence meaning information session. So remember for, and, nor, but, or, yet, so. You use a comma when it's connecting 2 independent thoughts. Jim likes watching movies, comma, but he enjoys music. Make sense? Okay. Then the third way is the non-fanboy's way. Any one of those other words, and they're all written on the bottom of the page that you can see, right? Take a look at your handout there, and you can see them. Jim dislikes watching movies, although he enjoys music. Now, when you use non-fanboys to connect 2 sentences, you don't use a comma. Thus, there's no comma before the word although. Any clarification needed on this? Okay, those are all
How
up.
about the THE, if we put a comma or not?
The?
Yeah.
The is not a
It's
connector.
not
The, you know what comes after the, always? A noun. Maybe a word before it, because it could be like the blue house, the little girl, but it's referring to the girl in the house. The is not a connector. It tells you that a noun is coming. The connectors that are not fanboys there's at least 100 of them. But many of them are listed on the bottom of your handout, because, although, even though, before, after, whereas, right? So if those connect 2 independent sentences, they don't need a comma. Raise your hand if that makes sense. Does that make sense, guys? Okay, good. Makes sense? Okay, good. Okay, I'm going to move on here. Let's practice. I write well. My brother writes poorly. Those are definitely 2 complete sentences, yes? The question is, when we fill in the blank, which is the best way to punctuate it? Just a comma? That wasn't one of our 3 ways to connect 2 sentences, was it, guys? If you look back on your handout, you see the 3 ways. And a comma was not listed. Comma nor could be, because that's a boy's fan. I write well, nor my brother writes poorly.
No.
But it doesn't make sense. Okay, so far none of these. Semicolon could be, because that's one of our 3 choices. I write well, semicolon, my brother writes poorly. Are they short sentences? Are they
Yeah.
connected in terms of meaning?
Like
We have a very good possibility here, rather than doesn't make any sense. So C is the correct answer. Okay, so you know now that there are 3 ways to connect sentences. A semicolon, a comma, fanboys, and a non-fanboys word without a comma. Got it? Okay, excellent. So, let's practice. Choose the most logical way to combine the following 2 sentences. Remember, I told you that there was a test question, a type of test question that asked you to combine 2 sentences. So this is not the fill in the blank, this is the other type of question, but it's still testing how to use the subordination and coordination content area. I did not want to go to Florida. The plane ticket was too expensive. We're going to combine that in the most logical way. I did not want to go to Florida and the plane ticket was too expensive. Tell me what you think about this. A, you guys really should all know this answer. Is this correct?
Yes.
Look closely.
It's have and, but makes sense.
It has an and, but it's a boys band. And what has to happen when you have a boys band?
Comma.
There's no comma. So it's wrong.
It's wrong, yeah.
Because it has no comma. It has to have a comma boys fan to connect two sentences. You with me?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay. So, yeah, it makes sense. But grammatically it's wrong because all voice bands connecting two complete sentences must have commas. Okay, let's see if the next one's right. I did not go to Florida, semicolon. And then the plane ticket was too expensive.
Yeah.
No.
Now, tell me why you think it's right. You think it's wrong. How come?
Because I was semicolon and sandwich.
No, that's not the reason it's wrong, but it is wrong. Tell me why it's wrong.
The semicolon.
Why about it? What
Because
makes that wrong?
fanboy must come comma.
No, you can, so remember you guys, there's three ways to connect sentences. Semicolon, comma fanboys,
Comma.
non-fanboys, no comma. This has a semicolon, but guess what? This isn't a sentence. And the plane ticket was too expensive is not a sentence. It can't stand by itself. So you can't do semicolon fanboys. And that might have been what you were trying to say. But make sure that you have two complete thoughts before and after the semicolon. That is not an option. Moving on. I did not go to Florida because the plane ticket was too expensive.
Yes.
C is right. Boom.
Because
C is right. I did not go to Florida, comma, because. It's not a fanboy, is it? We don't do comma non-fanboys. Okay? Good job. Excellent. All right? Let's move on to the third content area, which is nouns and pronouns. So you all know that a noun is a person, place, or thing. That should be no surprise. John is kind. In the restaurant, he gave me a gift. Here's the person, here's the place, here's the thing. Okay, look, the restaurant. A gift. Articles tell you a noun is coming. Okay? So, pronouns take the place of those nouns that have already been used. The dog is friendly. It licked me. It refers to the dog. So that's a pronoun. It. Let's take a look. Those dogs are friendly. They licked my face. This is a plural noun, so we need a plural pronoun. Okay? So, other pronouns are used to show possession. John likes music. Jazz is his favorite type. Okay, so this is showing possession. It's his favorite type, John's favorite type. The green car is mine. I possess the green car. That's what it's explaining there. The pronouns have to agree with the noun that they replace. Okay? So make sure that you have that agreement going on when it comes to the pronouns replacing the nouns. If it's a female noun, like Julie, you have to obviously say she or her. If it's a plural noun, like Susie and Mary, then that pronoun must be they. That's what they'll look for on the test in terms of agreement. All right, they'll give you a series of nouns, and then they'll give you a pronoun later, and they want you to make sure that you understand that agreement. So let's practice. John gave the apple to I, his, he, me. Does everybody agree with me?
yes.
Okay, good job. I would agree as well. So that's what you would expect when they're testing you in the content area of nouns and pronouns. Remember, in sentence meaning, they want to know if you understand what it means. In language uses, they want to know that you understand the correct one to use grammatically. Okay? So, let's do the second type of sentence question. Choose the most logical way to combine the following sentences. John gave the apple to me. John didn't know it was rotten. We have two sentences, and we've learned how many ways are there to combine two sentences? Okay? So, John gave the apple to me, but John didn't know it was rotten. Take a look and tell me if it could be right. Is everything
Yes.
before the comma a complete sentence, and everything after the voice span a complete sentence? And does the sentence still make sense?
Yes.
Okay? It could be. It's a very good possibility.
Yes.
Let's check B. John gave the apple to me, but he didn't know it was rotten.
It's similar.
It's similar, but what did it do? It used the pronoun, so it might be testing pronoun. So which do you like better? They're both,
The second.
they're both correct, but one feels better. Because when you repeat John, it's too much. Using the pronoun is a very good idea, right? So we like B better now. So don't assume it's A because it's right. It's got to be A because it's best and right, okay? C, John gave the apple to me, but his didn't know it was rotten.
No.
That's a misuse of the pronoun his, correct? John gave the apple to me, but it didn't know it was rotten. That's referring to the apple, so that's not right. So good job, you guys, it's B, okay? So that was a good one to catch yourself, like, oh, it's A. Keep going, all right? Okay. Content area, Katie, I'm only at number 4, so I'm going to be just a second. This one always goes.
I can sit
You
more.
sit. This one always goes a little bit longer. This is the
Okay.
longest one, so I don't want you to have to stand. Okay, so verbs. What this test wants to know is that the verbs must agree with the subject. We talked about this a little bit, right? If it's a singular subject, it needs to have a singular verb, and if it's a plural subject, it needs to have a plural verb, right? Okay. Must use matching tenses as well. So, I go to Starbucks before I walk to class is present tense. I go, I walk. I went to Starbucks before I walked to class is what tense? What tense is it? Past tense,
Past tense.
right? So they're going to try and make sure you understand that all the verbs have to have the same tense. Got it?
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So, it can change if the speaker is asking a question. I listen to music in my car. If you flip that around and ask a question, oftentimes it sounds different. Have you listened to music in your car? So the verb changes if you're flipping a sentence around and asking a question. So be prepared to kind of answer questions that test verbs like this, and we'll do an example right now. So this fill in the blank question is this. The janitorial staff blank to finish cleaning the pool before the swim team arrived for practice. What did the janitorial staff do? The janitorial staff working hard. We want the verb to match the subject. Works hard to finish cleaning the pool before the swimming team arrived for practice. Worked hard,
Yes.
work hard.
Let's see.
C. And this is again looking at tenses. We have arrived for practice and we have worked hard. Okay? So that's the type of test question you'll get in that area. Here's a fill in the blank. This is the use of a question. Blank, you get the pizza. It's delicious. Where is, where did, where are, and where.
Where is?
Where is you get the pizza? Where did you get
Where
the
did
pizza?
you get
Where did you get the pizza? Good job. Okay? And if you follow along on the handout, you'll see that we're getting down to the last content area, which is the idea of descriptive words and comparatives. And we talked a little bit about that during the sentence meeting. But descriptive words are adjectives, as you know, that describe nouns. Usually they go before the nouns, but not always. Okay? The young girl sings loudly. Obviously, this is describing girl. Again, here's our article saying, here comes a noun, but that's helping it a little bit, okay? Adverbs, they describe all the other word types, and they usually go after the verb, but not always, okay? So the young girl sings loudly. How does she sing? She sings loudly. You remember adverbs always end in ly, or many, if they end in ly, they're an adverb, I should say, okay? So comparatives, on the other hand, we talked about this. Or more or less are for how many to compare? 2 or less, right? Es, most, least are for 3 or more. Remember the tomatoes in the garden? Okay. So if we were to compare the planets Earth and Mars, that's 2 planets, we would want to use this, right? Earth is bigger than Mars. But if we compared the planets Earth, Mars, and Jupiter, we want to use this one. Jupiter is the biggest. They'll be looking for that. Of the 2 students making a presentation in speech class, Jenny was the blank one. We know there's 2 students. ER, more or less. Yes? Okay. Nervously, Jenny was the nervously one? No. Nervouser, it's an ER, but it doesn't make any sense, does it? Most nervous, we said more or less. And that's where you could use your scratch paper to give yourself a clue. I'm looking for ER, more or less. More nervous. Jenny was the more nervous one. Okay? All right, you guys following? Excellent. Among all of my brothers, all of them, I can jump. What are we going to write on our scratch paper? We're going to write EST or most least, because it's about all of my brothers. More than 3 of them. Okay? Higher, because it's got an ER, right? Highly? No. So you guys like C? Yeah? Okay. The faculty is united in blank effort to make this school a better place to learn. Is this a singular subject or a plural? It's singular, right? So we want a singular verb, and we have it. Is united in an effort to make the school a better place, right? So we know it's a singular subject. What they want to do is find the singular pronoun. That's what they're trying to do. There is that singular. There, which means they are, right, guys? It's, which means it is, right? Which is the singular choice here? Say it with conviction. See? It's not there, right? It is one. Would you agree? One faculty. It does indeed match. It does indeed agree. You're right. It can't be this one because the contraction means it is, right? So that's, you could eliminate these 2 right away. You look at the remaining choices and you see that this is singular and this is plural. Because you have told me right away that faculty is a singular subject, you know to look for a singular pronoun. And or a singular verb, depending upon what they're asking in the test question. Okay? All right. So the couple other question formats, remember we did some fill in the blanks and we did some sentence combining. Let's just do one more. Leah easily won the writing contract. Her years of study and practice have finally paid off. We've got 2 sentences. You guys told me there are 3 ways to connect them. Semicolon, comma, big fanboys, and no comma, non-fanboys, right? Okay. Leah's writing contract finally paid off when she won, practiced, and studied for years. think? Let's keep looking and see if we can eliminate. Leah's years of study and practice finally paid off when she easily won the writing contract. Does that make sense to you all?
And is a fanboy doesn't have a comma.
It could be. Now, here's what's interesting, Fishta. This and right here is not acting as a fanboy. It's acting as a connector of a series of little phrases. So if I said I went to the store to buy milk, eggs, and ice cream.
Oh.
The and, you see, that's a different use of the word and. It's not a fanboy in that situation, but I can see why you said that. Let's look at all of our choices here. When she practiced and studied, Leah easily won writing contracts for years.
No.
I don't like that one either, right? Doesn't even make any sense. Through winning, Leah studied, practiced for years easily.
No.
Okay, so we know it's not that one either, right? So let's look back up. So we know it's between A and B, and it's got to be the one that makes most sense to connect these two. Leah easily won their writing contract for years of study and practice. You think B?
Yeah.
How come?
Leah, she study
Makes sense.
It just, the meaning is better. I don't see necessarily anything wrong with the first one, but the meaning is better. So I would agree. The answer is B. Okay? So I think what we'll do right now is we'll stop here and we'll move on to the listening portion. Again, at the bottom of your handout, you'll see a bunch of resources that could be of help to you in terms of the language use test. And are there any questions that you guys have off the bat, which is an idiom, that I can help you with in the language use?
Yeah. I'm confusing for the semicolon and comma.
You're confused on the 3 ways to connect the sentences?
Yeah, I'm mixing the comma how to do that. But
So-
I am not sure in the semicolon.
Okay, so we could do a couple of things. A, we could spend some time with you and in the Writing, Reading, Speech Center and strictly work on how to connect 2 sentences. And we could just give you example after example after example. That would probably be the best idea. So maybe when we're done, Gam, I can help you get registered and we can meet with you and do a little bit more practice, because I know you've taken the test once already. You like that idea?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's do that if you still feel a little confused. Okay? All right, excellent. So we'll go ahead and we will move on then to the listening test.